So, let me roll back the clock to Thursday, 12th of December, 2019. On that day, the UK was voting in the general election, deciding who would be running their country for probably the next 5 years. Meanwhile, I was making an actually important decision. You see, that day was also the only day on which Konosuba Legend of Crimson was showing in cinemas in the UK. And I had to make this important decision. Who was best girl? Konosuba is the best girl war equivalent of an active war zone. But with this new movie, we get interesting new insights into the cast, as well as new additions. And so, I think it's time to give this movie the Best Girl Wars treatment. And because I have to work in video game references for some reason, and this is my 5th episode of Best Girl Wars, I might as well pick out a video game that also has the number 5 in its title. Haven't finished that one. The developers haven't finished that one. I haven't played that one, but I have memorized a monologue from it, so I guess, let's do it. Yeah, that's going to be the thumbnail. Konosuba Legend of Crimson has been pretty well received by myself and most of the anime community, but one thing seems off. While I do love Darkness in seasons 1 and 2 of Konosuba, frankly, I wasn't feeling it in this movie. Darkness was okay in the first few acts, but was unfortunately sidelined and was just kind of dull by Act 3. And this was because she came with something that completely undermines her character. Dignity. This is not an attack on Darkness, but once again, I am only judging on how they were in this film, so I'm afraid I've got to ask you this. Can we get an F in the chat for Darkness?
Why are we still here? Just to suffer?
I'm going to briefly go on a tangent about Megumin's family, because I have 2 points to make. Firstly, when Megumin's sister appeared, everyone lost their shit. I'm pretty sure there was an audible "aww" at my screening, which was surprising as most of the people at my screening were single dudes in their 20s. But that was not actually the first appearance of Komeko, because she appeared in season 2 in a flashback. More you know. And also I want to mention Yui, because I felt slightly let down by her. Why? Well, she is a mother, is she not? And the thing about this movie is that JC staff were behind this, and while they did, for the most part, a fantastic job, let us not forget they could have gotten further given their previous MILFs. Can we get an F in the chat for Yui?
Why are we still here? Just to suffer?
In the original series, Wiz was one of the best supporting waifus. If you're in a heated argument about Konosuba's best girl, you can just hit him with one of these. Wiz's best girl.
That's a pretty cool insight, Nalsy. I don't buy it, but it's interesting.
And in the movie, she is no different. She actually appears, which is a pleasant surprise, and she is adorable, which also helps. But she is nothing more than a sideshow, so can we get an F in the chat for Wiz?
Why are we still here? Just to suffer?
These next three are kind of packed together, and they are Megumin's ex-classmates, Arue, Funifura, and Dodonko, who serve as the village's most youthful threesome. That came out wrong. But if I had to make any notes, Arue is very much the cars to their pillar men, and she calls herself the most voluptuous of the Crimson Demons, which is true, but no one likes a show-off, so F's in chat for her.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer?
Dodonko has a very funny name, which reminds me of the Zelda CDI games. But having said that, she forced me to recycle decade-old memes in order to make that joke, and that's unforgivable, so F's in chat for her. Why aren't we hither? Only for sufferance. And finally we have Funifara, who is known for her brother complex, which either makes her an Emoto or an One-san. Either way, she isn't best girl. Can we get an F? ¿Por qué estamos todavía aquí? Acabo sufrir. Eris appears briefly in this movie. To honor this, she will only be mentioned briefly in this video. Can we get an F for Eris's screen time?
Why are we still here? Just to suffer?
Okay, here's a hot take. Aqua is actually kind of cool in this movie. Yeah, I said it. She's evolved slightly. Instead of being fully useless, she's come to terms with the fact that she's going to be stuck in this world, and she might as well enjoy it. While not best girl, she's become somewhat more respectable. Seriously, her pulling up Kazuma's trousers means surprisingly more than you'd think. She's the type you'd go and get a drink with, although you will find yourself drowning in debt the next day. Can we get an F for Kazuma's wallet?
The money I've lost. The coins I've lost. It won't stop depleting.
Moving on, we have the voluptuously vile villain of the movie, Sylvia. Sylvia is by far the thickest of the Demon King's servants, and that is saying something considering Wiz is one of them. And even from the trailer for this movie, I liked her design. And personality-wise, she can be both cutesy and domineering, as she convinced Kazuma to abandon his party so that he could be with her. Although that is a somewhat understandable decision on Kazuma's part. However, Sylvia does add a variable to the mix. In keeping with the Metal Gear Solid references, Sylvia has a, Solid Snake. Can we get an F in the chat for Kazuma?
Every night, I can feel my leg.
Union definitely saw an evolution in her role, with her inciting the narrative by asking Kazuma to conceive a child with her. Honestly, I would have been fine if this movie was just her getting pregnant and Kazuma coming to terms with fatherhood. However, we see more of Union in the movie, and how she is much more stoic than she initially lets on. Despite what the people in her village have done to her, she still wishes to defend them. And luckily for her, there is not a single instance of a Union bully in this movie. So, because this movie didn't, I will. Union is not best girl in this movie. Can we get an F in chat? Guess who I'm going to talk about now. If there is ever another Konosuba movie, two things will happen. Firstly, I will change the current title of this video. Secondly, the community will start referring to this as the Megumin movie, because she has frankly stolen the show here. I'm not gonna lie, before this movie I was somewhat indifferent about Megumin, but all of that was dispelled in just 2 scenes of her sleeping with Kazuma, and a surprisingly emotional conclusion. For fuck's sake, Megumin did so much for this movie, we might as well give it a new title. I personally suggest Megumind. And yeah, I think you might have converted me over to Megumin. But don't get me wrong, she isn't best girl. F in the chat. I've done it already, I'm not going to say it. Because we all know that best girl is fucking Swatty the Orc. Easy win. Who wouldn't want to bang an orc? I'm starting to think that interspecies reviewers may have affected my taste.